Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Mark O'Brien. I'm a Director of Business Development here at CM First Group, and I wanted to welcome our audience across many time zones for today's webcast, which is basically going to deal with automated testing using RPA or Robotics Process Automation. This is a Lunch and Learn webcast. This is all about automating a tedious but necessary activity. Today's speakers are going to be Roger Hammer and Maya Nadger, also work for CM First. Roger is our Director of Software Development Services, and Maya is a Senior Consultant and expert on RPA tooling. If you've been on our webcast before, and many of you might be new to it, you'll see that we're going to give you a series of poll questions to engage you during the webcast. And so the first poll question is a good general one to say who is currently using RPA and who is using automated testing. We'll have a screen will pop up. So are you currently using RPA and automated testing? Are you doing RPA only or automated testing only, or both RPA and automated testing? Maybe you aren't there yet, but you're planning to evaluate, or perhaps it's just not on the radar at present. You can only vote once, and organizers and panelists do not vote. So, interesting. RPA and automated testing are just about a third of the respondents are either doing one or the other. 19%, about 1 in 5, are doing both. And some of you are planning to evaluate, and only 4% are not on the radar. So this should be a very timely topic. And as a reminder, our next slide here, and I'm going to type you can always type your questions into the console if you've got them. We're going to save the questions until the end. We've got a special Q&A session at the end of that. And also remember to respond to the survey, which will be at the end of the seminar. And you're going to have to supply your work email address. This is different than the registration for the webinar. This is a separate activity that you need to do. Provide us with your work email address, and then we'll get that $10 US lunch gift card out to you. At this point, I'm going to turn over the activities to Roger Hammer, and he'll tell you more about our company and what we have in store for you with RPA today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mark. So we're CM First Group. We are headquartered in Austin, Texas. We have a number of partners, including Fortra, who we work with to provide RPA. And we have been in business for more than 10 years and have helped a large number of both large and small organizations. So today we're going to talk about the benefits of robotic process automation, RPA. We're going to talk about automated testing and why would you want to do that, right? What kind of benefits are you going to get from automated testing? And how are you we're going to dig into some details. Maya's going to go in and actually give you a live demonstration of the ways that we have built automated testing, the ways that we've automated the interactions with software that has been built by our teams. And so you'll get a chance to see how Automate works with an automated testing environment and the way that we've engineered that solution. So what are some of the benefits of RPA? Obviously, you're going to gain a lot of efficiencies. You're going to reduce errors. You're going to get auditing capability. You're going to increase the agility. So you're going to free up people and better utilize those people within the environment. These can be tedious and not so fun tasks sometimes to do testing manually. So you're going to increase engagement with your employees. You're going to give them tools that allow them to do their job better here. Potentially, depending on how you implement RPA, you can improve customer satisfaction, certainly through software testing, finding all the issues in software, making sure you don't deliver any bugs to customers is obviously a huge benefit. And then the ability to standardize your processes and have them, consistently executed is a big benefit, along with potentially using RPA for business continuity. So some of the growth rates, RPA is growing and has been growing very quickly over a number of years. 50% per year growth rate, that's very fast. And reducing the testing time is obviously very important. So not only the efficiency of getting testing done by a bot built in using RPA, but also the ability to get that testing done more quickly through the automation. And then, a very high number of organizations are having success with RPA, and it really depends on your good planning and good execution, as with any kind of a project or implementation. So what are the different uses for RPA? We've got a number of them here. Banking certainly is a good one. We see loan processing, anything that is a document processing kind of process, or anything that is a consistent human interaction with software are really good implementation locations. So healthcare, customer service, obviously responding to customer inquiries and giving them quick responses, automating those processes. Claims, certainly in insurance industry, is an area with a lot of automation and a lot of potential. And of course, we're going to talk about software and automating the functional testing of software. So what about manual testing? If you're still doing manual testing, you know that it's very expensive, takes a lot of time, it wastes a lot of human time. It's very boring. After a human gets used to doing the same thing over and over, it's difficult to maintain your attention. And so it's easy to overlook issues that may be there and may need to be recognized and reported, but may be missed. A lot of times it's inadequate, so it takes a lot of time, and it's expensive to build human-based processes, and the execution again is expensive, and so many times we may not build enough testing into the process, and it obviously may not be consistent also. And then if you have a continuous integration, continuous deployment environment, human integration or human testing obviously doesn't integrate there well, and we'll find that automated testing will integrate there. You're going to improve your accuracy, reliability. You're going to reduce costs. Not having that human involvement to execute that test on a regular basis can be very valuable and save lots of time and redirect that person to something, frankly, more interesting and more useful for the business. Over time, you can certainly also increase your test coverage. So making sure that you have every test covered and that you have good coverage across your entire application is going to be important. Flexible and scalable, very flexible. You'll see with the actions that you can drag and drop using Automate that this is a very flexible tool, and it's scalable from the desktop for an individual user all the way up to an enterprise grade implementation. You can certainly test lots of different kinds of applications, and out of that you'll see in one of the cases that Maya is going to present that we have some reporting that we've built in, but you also have some analytics within the Automate tool itself. So what's our approach? We've engineered a solution that's data driven, and it's going to speed your time of getting up and running with your testing. We automate the extraction of the screen object information and the test path definition. We're going to provide the ability to create the inputs and manage all that information over time. It's a standard and extendable process that we like to call object action input as a testing cycle. So what are the steps to preparing for doing automated testing? Obviously you need to identify what are the scenarios that you're going to be testing. You're going to have to put together any test data that's needed for your application. And then, of course, you're going to need to develop the actual scripts in RPA, and that's where we can help you automate the automated environment, even further to make that process more easy. And then, of course, configuring that test environment, where are you going to execute those tests, and then you can begin running your tests. From there, many customers want to integrate with their integration and deployment pipeline and make sure that these tests are being run many times nightly. The ability to have that integration where you're doing builds and automatically testing those new builds, and come in the morning and find any issues that may be found. And then, of course, you're going to monitor that and measure and optimize that performance over time. So why Fortran Automate? So we like Fortran Automate because of its flexibility. The drag and drop environment is very easy to use. A lot of pre-built actions, as they're called, as you can literally drag them from one side to the other, and Maya will show you a number of those. I mentioned database connectivity here, but there are a lot of connectors that you can download to different kinds of applications and automate the setup of those interactions and interfaces. The ability to build events and task execution logging. Error conditions, error handling is really important to make sure that you're getting any feedback about your process. If something changes, that you're finding the errors and have the ability then to deal with those. As I mentioned, enterprise, multi-machine execution, you can scale up and down with these tools. And then, with most all RPA, you're going to simulate regular human interactions with software. And so you can actually, with Automate, you can actually record that process using the recorder tool. Just by doing it physically as a human, you can walk through those steps and record them, and that will actually define those steps for Automate. Machine learning, there were actually a couple of questions in the survey about machine learning. And so Automate does have the ability to do some machine learning, particularly in the area of variable data locations on document form processing. Very powerful capability there. And then, of course, the ability to manage credentials and, as I mentioned, enterprise capable. But one of the key areas, of course, most customers are considering is, what's the cost? Is this cost effective? And Automate, you'll find, as I mentioned, it scales from desktop to enterprise for a very cost-effective price, and it's important to get up and running quickly. So the simplicity, of getting implemented and getting up and running is also very important. So just a reminder, we want you to type your questions into the webinar sidebar there, enter those, and we'll discuss them at the end. And also a reminder to respond to the survey at the very end of the webinar with your work email so you can get your gift card. All right, second poll question. What types of applications do you need to test? So what kinds of applications do you have? What are you testing? What do you need to be testing with Automate? So our options are green screen, 5250, 3270, web browser based, Windows or Linux, packaged software, or devices like Android, iOS. Okay, so a little over 20% green screen, about almost half web browser based, 44% Windows and Linux, and a small number, 10% or so packages, and almost 20% device. And that's a really good mix. So let's talk about what kind of testing. So I'm going to hand over to Maya now, and she's going to begin the demonstration, and we'll pick back up at the end here.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay, good. So actually, we are going to see together two examples. For our first example, we will dive into a compact yet impactful demonstration that revolves around data entry automation. This scenario will serve as a perfect starting point to showcase the capabilities of RPA. What's more, I will be conducting a live demonstration taking you through the step-by-step process of building this data entry automation process. Then, as a second example, I will give you first an overview of the automated testing framework that we have built. Then I will run a script that we have developed via Automate, which will execute a couple of testing scenarios. And of course, we will see the documentation and the logs for this task that we will run. And in the end, we will go over the logic that was written for that script. So let us move and check our first example. As you see here, we have an input file, which is a CSV file delimited by commas. In the first record, you will see the column headings. And then for the remaining records, we will see the different data that we need to insert. What this example will do is grab this input file, set it into a data set, then access a 5250 screen, set certain comments in order to access a certain menu option, and then start looping this CSV file and insert those data into our menu option. Keep in mind that even creating this CSV file can be done and generated automatically via Automate. It all depends on the scenarios you have. Let me give you a couple of scenarios that can occur. So let us say that these data exist in a certain database. What we can do is via Automate, we can access this database, extract the needed data, insert them into a CSV file, and set them into a specific folder so that can Automate via a certain trigger, grab this CSV file and process it. Another example I can think of is like monitoring our email. Check if we have received a certain email from sender X with a title subject XYZ. In this case, we will attach the attached file and convert it to CSV, and again, put it in a certain folder so that Automate can process it. Multiple ways, it depends on the scenarios that you have. Now, let us go and run our task in order to see how it will work. This is my task, and I will come here and I will run it. You will see on the right bottom of the screen the steps various Automate arrived. So as you see here, it launched the 50-50 screen. We are adding certain comments. We access the menu option needed, and here we go. We started inserting the data that we provided into that CSV file. As you can see, there is no way that any error can occur, and it's so fast. And it will go through all the data that we have inserted into our notepad. So for now, let me end the task in order to gain some time and give you an idea. Okay. So this is our task. Let us now. Let me first introduce you to Automate. So this is the SMC. The SMC is the System Management Console, whereas you can see you can organize, create your workflow. A repository means all the tasks that you need to build. You can organize your users, agents, server settings, and other settings. And I want to highlight that Automate provides us a wide range of reports, like, for example, let me mention the task result and task duration that you can monitor. Now, let us go to the task builder where all the magic can happen. So as you see here, this is the task that I have built for this example that I showed you. On the left, you can see here a list of pre-built actions provided by Automate. Actually, there are more than 600 automated actions that you can use. I will not go through all of them, but let me give you a couple of ideas. Like for example, the OCR. You can automate can perform OCR activities like get tax. Like imagine yourself working in a bank, whereas you receive every day hundreds of checks. In case, for example, let's say you need to grab certain info from this check for those hundreds checks, all what you need to do is automate this action by using this action get tax from the check. Of course, a lot of other tasks that actions that you can use, like web automation, send email, FTP, etc. Now we have seen. You will tell me how you will use that. So this is your panel where you can build your script. How you can use those tasks, those actions, is by simply drag and drop this action into your panel, set several parameters depending if needed, and that's it. One more thing I need to mention, that even you can manage in case of error, in case this action that you have set ended abnormally, what you need to do. There are multiple of ways you can handle this, even, for example, by retrying this step, and you can specify how many times, and you can specify to execute another action if this action ended abnormally, or even you can simply stop the task or continue to the next step and so on. So back to our example. So as you saw when I ran this task, the first thing that we did is we ran the 5250 screen. So in order to use this functionality, all what we need to do, even grab this action from this panel, or you can simply search for that action. So let us say now we need to run a certain command, right? All what we have to do is search for the run command, and we can grab from here, drag and drop this action into our panel. Once this action is here, a window will open, whereas you will specify the command that you need to run. And that's it. Next step, what I have done is, okay, I have the CSV file. Now what I need to do is grab the info from this CSV file and set it into a data set. So what I have done is I search for CSV file. As you see, you will have a action that states we can convert the CSV to data set. So I use that action, and what I did in here, what I set as parameters in here, is I search for that CSV file and set it in here. And I told Automate that he needs to create a new data set, and I specified the data set needed. And in addition to that, I specifically specified, as you saw in my CSV file, that the first record holds the column headings. So I told Automate that it reads the first line as column heading, and that the delimiter is comma. So by using those two actions, I succeeded to run a 5250 screen, convert the data from that CSV file into my data set. Next step, what is my next step in this case? As you can see here, it's not necessary, but I did maximize for the 5250 screen only to show you for a better view. The next step, what I have done is I told Automate to wait for 1 second, because running those actions is actually very fast. So I told Automate to hold on for 1 second before proceeding to the other steps. And then once the 5250 screen was opened, what I did is I told Automate, grab your mouse, set it on the command line in order to start putting the different comments, right? So I used for that the move mouse to object. This whereas I specified the 5250 screen. So as you can see here, we have a move mouse and we have the Windows 5250 screen. Let me show you one thing actually, how you can do that. So by simply specifying, pressing this magnifier, not here. Okay, so by simply pressing this magnifier and choosing this window, it will automatically grab the needed information. So you will not need to worry about what to set in here. Automate will grab the needed info, right? And then I told Automate to click the left mouse in order to set the cursor on the command line. After that, what I need to do is provide Automate with the command line comments that I need to put, right? So for that, I use the send keystroke action in order to do that. And how we can do that is by simply adding here the command that we need to set in the green screen. After that, so now we access the our menu. What's next is actually grouping our data set and insert the data into our menu option. To do that, Automate has provided us an action that states that we can loop a certain data set. All what we need to specify right in here, the data set that we have created earlier, and that's it. Once we do that, so we are looping here the data set, what's next is, okay, I set a certain pointer to look to read this data set, and then what's next is I need to tell Automate that he needs to grab the info from this data set and put it into the green screen. So how we can do that is again by using the send keystroke. And at this time, with the difference that we need to specify that he needs to grab the info from the data set that we have created for the, for example, for this first record, and then grab the first name and put it in the first field. And here, and by setting every field, and in the end, we are incrementing the pointer in order to loop that data set. And in the end, we are exiting the 5250. As you saw here, we use like 6 to 7 different actions, and this task, which can be built like in 3 minutes, we have succeeded, and we are able to insert millions of records into our database using 7 different actions and 3 minutes to build this code, and that's it. Now we have seen the first example. Let me move to our second example. First, let me give you an idea on the automated testing framework that we have built. As a first step, we have downloaded the list of functions and controls from models that we have modernized. Then, as a second step, we have developed a tool to help the user build their testing scenarios with ease. In details, let me show you how they can do that. Of course, as a first step, the users need to create their automated testing scenarios ID, right? And then they need to add the list of steps that they need to automate. How they can do that is by simply attach a certain control, a certain action to a certain control ID, right? And now you will tell me how they will know the name of this control ID in that screen. And that's simple, because using this screen that we have built, the user is asked to only set the function name. Once he sets the function name, a list, as you see here, a list of all the control IDs that are in this function will appear. All what the user will have to do is select the chosen control and use control for this step, and then through this automate action, attach this action to this control ID. So let me give you an example. So as you see here, we have a control ID called F6 add, right? All what we need to do is select this F6 add and then come here and tell automate that he needs to search for this control ID, which is the F6 add, and then choose from here the automate action, push button. So automate will read, okay, I need to search this control ID, the F6 add, and then push that button whenever I see that. And that's it. The user will repeat creating those steps. Once he's done, he will be able to generate the CSV file. Of course, after confirming all the steps that consist of this testing scenario, he will be able to generate his CSV file. Now, back to our framework. Now we have succeeded to build our testing scenarios, and we have generated the CSV file. Since we have generated those CSV files, now we have the input files needed in order to be processed by automate. How we can do that is simply by using triggers. So we have created different triggers in order to process those input files. And to process those files, we have done we have written some scripts that were carefully engineered in a way to take into consideration every testing scenario that is created through the step number 2. And let me state right in here that while processing those files, of course, errors can be generated, right? So we have generated different error logs and image capturing in order to document our testing scenarios outcomes. And in the end, we were able to send and distribute those logs to the concerned individual to see the testing scenario outcomes. Now we have seen this framework, and let us move now. Yes, so as you see, this framework was like split into 2 parts. The first part was to see how to build the testing scenarios, and then the second part, how to execute those testing scenarios. Let me now go and show you our second example. So for our second example, what we are going to do is we have generated 2 testing scenarios. The first one, what we will do is it's again a CSV file delimited by comma, which contains the list of control IDs, right? And the action needed to be automated on this control ID. Like for example, for the first record in here, we are telling automate that he needs to access a certain menu option and select it. So as a summary for this testing scenario, what we are going to do is access a certain menu option, and then perform a F6 add and add a certain record into our database. After confirming the addition of this record, we will go back and select back this added record, make additional change to a certain field, and confirm the addition, and in the end select back this this record and delete it. As for our test, in the second testing scenario, what we will do is again access another menu option, make a certain change on a record. After the confirming the change, we will download a certain PDF, save as this PDF, and that's it. In the end, what we will do, you will see when we will see the logic written inside, you will see that we will send emails with the logs that we have generated for those testing scenarios. So let us now run our test. This is my task that I have created, and I will run it right now. You see below that automate provide you the step whereas he arrived. So here we access this web application, we logged in, then we access the accounting menu option and then press accounts, and then we press the add button, insert a certain data, continuing inserting this data, and then press OK, confirm the addition of this record, and then Automate now is searching for the exit button and press it. And then again, what we'll do is select back this added record and change the accounting number and set it to 131, and then press OK, confirm the change, and in the end, select back this record and delete it. As you see, it's fully automated. So now Automate, he will proceed to the next testing scenario. So we will access, in this case, to the person menu option, choose the first record and make a certain change to the last name and confirm the change, and then confirm yes, and then press OK. And here he will search for the button View Application PDF and press it. Okay, and then he will press the green button to download this PDF. And once he's here, he will save as this PDF into a certain folder that we will provide for Automate. And after finishing this testing scenario, actually what he will do here, replace for, because he saw the same, another file with the same, under the same name. So he will replace this file. Okay, actually, right in here, what he is doing, he finished processing the two files. What he's doing is he is renaming the log files and sending emails and stuff. So this is our task. Let me first show you the result for this task. As you see here, so here we Automate generated 3 logs. As you see here, for the first, the second, and the third log are called success, since the two testing scenario ended normally. So we have, in the end, we have renamed the file with success and the name of the file and timestamp. This is for the two couple testing scenarios that we have generated. But as you can see, the first one is a log for the whole task that we have run. What can we put in this log? What's in here is we stated that we have started this task, and we are mentioning here the time, and then we are, the next log is stating that we have started processing the first file, and then we have started processing the second file, and it ended up normally. And in the end, we are saying that the task ended and the time elapsed for the task. And if in case, let me tell you, in case of error, what we will see. Let me search for one case that has ended abnormally. Okay, like for example, this case. So in case of error, in case of we have encountered a certain error while processing our file, what we will do is informing the user that there was an error and for which control we had this error. So in this case, for this control, we and for the action field population, they were not processed due to a certain error. Okay, so now we have seen the error logs. Let us see together the screenshot that we are capturing while if we saw any error. So let me show you one example. Like for example, here when I ran this task, the service was not available. So before ending the task, I did capture image and I save it right in here. And I have told you that in the end, after processing the two files, what we automate is what we wrote inside this task is to generate is to send in case of error, we are going to send the error files to the concerned people. And in case of successful, in this case, we are sending the PDF to the concerned people. So as you see here, I have received an email with the PDF that I have attached. So now we have seen how we ran and the execution of the task. Let me now go through a little bit the code that was written in order to process like similar tasks. As you see here, so you have seen that the first steps that we have done is we have logged on to our web application. We have set the username and password and pushed the login button. So as you see here, the list of steps are very easy and you can read it and understand it very easily. As a first thing we have done is after creating, of course, the variables, we have opened the URL and we specified which URL we need to open, which in this case, this URL. And then we set the user password and then click the button, log on button. After doing that, I have maximized the window in order to have a better view. And the next step was actually, you see here, we have the input file set into the input file folder. So what I have done is I told Automate, okay, grab the input file folder, right? And list all the files existing in this folder. And in case you find any CSV file, okay, grab the CSV file and put the data inside from this CSV file into a data set. So in order to do that, I use this action first, this action, which is saying that access this folder, the input file folder, grab all the information from this folder and put it into a data set. Then I am looking this data set and I am saying, check the extension of each file, right? If you find that the extension of this file is a CSV file, so in this case, what you need to do is, of course, I am here writing some info in the log files. What I'm telling him after that is, yes, grab this CSV file and set all the data from the CSV file into a data set. And that's it. And after that, now I have all the CSV file, and I have inside all the data that I need to handle. What I'm doing right now is I'm looking each testing scenario and looking each step in this testing scenario. And depending on the action that is set, so you see here we have those records, and depending on the action that is set right in here, I am handling and I wrote different steps to handle those actions. As you see here, different actions that were handled in this small example. As you see here, we have handled the menu option selection, the keyboard action whenever he needs to put a certain action into the keyboard, mouse action, feed population, button selection, checkbox selection, and then in the end, after processing every step in this testing scenario, we arrive to the end of this CSV file. We are grabbing the next testing scenario and we are processing it. After finishing processing all the testing scenarios that we have, what we are doing is, okay, we are checking how, once we finish the first testing scenario, I am testing, okay, did it end normally? Did I find any error? In case if I found any error, I am renaming the log file that I have previously and that I have generated by, if in error, I am renaming it by fail and the name of the file. And in case of success, I'm renaming it to success and the name of the file. And in case, as you see here, in case of fail, in addition to renaming the file, what I'm doing is I'm sending an email to the concerned people with this error log that I have generated. And in case, as you see, in case of the testing scenario ended normally, in this case, I am renaming the files to success and then sending the PDF file, as you have seen, to the concerned people. And that's it. Basically, it's like an algorithm, very easy to write using automate, and using a few steps or a certain logic, you can automate whatever task you need to do. And that's it for me. What I want to say in the end, that I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for joining us today. And I hope that the information shared during this webinar has provided you with valuable insights into the world of RPA and its benefits. Once again, thank you and have a nice day. Back to you, Roger.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got a poll question, and we call this Mint. So first one, would you like to meet on the subject? Can I introduce you to someone who would be useful to meet with? Please add me to your newsletter. We have a newsletter, so we can add you there. And you should talk to someone else. So you can click that, and we'll follow up with you and find out who else we might communicate with. And just a reminder, as we finish up, type your questions in. We're going to answer a few questions here. And don't forget, at the end, you're going to have a survey that you need to enter your email, your work email address, in order to get your gift card. So let's go to Q&A. Let me bring up a few questions. We had an early survey that went out, and so we have a few questions. The first question I have is, can RPA and AI be used together? I think I mentioned earlier, but I would just mention again that the document processing portion of Automate does have AI built in already. And I'm sure through APIs and other kinds of interactions, you could certainly add AI to your RPA process at any point. So a question about increasing productivity. So there's obviously a lot of different uses of RPA, lots of business uses, obviously lots of IT uses, and of course software testing as we're talking about today. So all of those are going to increase productivity. There obviously is an effort to get the RPA into place and to get your software process or automation so that you're able to run it. And that's where really you start talking about ROI. And we did have another question about ROI, right? So, you know, having a good planning process is going to be important for software testing. One of the key areas is making sure you have good test cases defined, right? So once you have those test cases defined, getting into a testing scenario that's completely automated is not really a big job. We can, you know, work with you to do that relatively quickly, particularly with some of the automation we've created. And so, you know, we've got this test cycle that's pre-built and that can be reused and of course extended if you have additional types of interactions needed. I'm going to look. There's a question about how many automated tests can be run on a device. You can run just about any number of tests, in this case, on a device. You know, RPA is going to do just what a human would do, an interaction, and even more, right? Because you can integrate with databases and with APIs and a number of applications. So you can do even what's called orchestration, where you're maintaining and moving data between one application and another. So all of those are going to give you the ability to run several kinds of tests, and you know, RPA or automate particularly, you know, when you get to the mid tier and above and the enterprise tier, you can run multiple bots on different environments. You can run, you know, and build these bots to run in a number of different environments and to run based on triggers, based on timing. All those different possibilities are there for you. What are the key factors in considering when to decide which process to automate? I would say we always talk about, you know, it's always good to get a quick win. So start with something simple, get something up and running. And of course you need high value processes, right? That are generally repetitive, right? So, you know, if it takes a lot of human thought to do the work, there are usually pieces of that process you can automate. So you can do a human interaction with the automation, or if it's completely a rote process where a human doesn't need to really consider any decisions that are not defined by the information, then you can build a completely automated bot to run that process. All right, I think that covers the initial questions from the pre-survey. Let me go to some of the questions that came here in the webinar. So the use of RPA is good, but it comes with challenges. What challenges are clear within our organization? I would say that the challenges usually are around identifying the process and having a good definition of what you want to automate. The automation process itself is not very challenging. It's a pretty straightforward process. There are some tools that I will say struggle with identifying the objects on a screen at times. And so having clarity about what you want to automate and what objects you would like to make a interaction with is important. And, you know, Automate has a wide variety of ways to make sure that you can do that in all cases. All right, let's take a look at some of the other questions here. How much is the software? Obviously, it varies quite a lot depending on, you know, whether there's a desktop version, so you can have, maybe you've got someone who does work and they need some of their tasks automated, or maybe a whole group could benefit, right? If you've got tasks that are just repetitive that you'd like to automate within a certain group, you can do that. Again, you can run them independently or you can run them with human interaction, and you can scale all the way up to enterprise. But I will say with Automate, even the enterprise full package is very reasonable in terms of costs, and you can certainly, we can talk to you about your specific needs and have a better conversation there about actual costs. Let's see if there's one more. A few questions about the gift cards, and I think I've commented, you know, certainly make sure you fill out the final survey and you'll get your gift card as long as you give us your work email address so we can communicate with you. And we will also, there's a question about the recording. We normally do a few days after the webinar, we'll send out the recording to everyone. So you should expect to receive that link so you can view it again if you'd like. And how do you measure success? That's a really good question. And I think to me, the best measure of success is going to be, well, maybe twofold. One is, did you get the key benefits of your software testing? Did you get your testing completed? And are you able to see the results of that testing clearly and in a timely manner? And then, of course, what's the savings? You know, much of the goal of RPA is the accuracy of that process and the time savings, freeing up the people in your organization to do the work that you would prefer them to do. That's not repetitive and is, you know, interesting. All right, I think that is all of the questions that I'm familiar with at this point. And I'll leave it there. I think we've got just a couple of minutes left. Thank you everyone for joining today. And we'll,
Yes.
as we said, as we end.
Mark, great work, Roger and Maya. And now we'll be distributing out the survey to everybody who's on the call. I want to thank everybody. Quite a crowd, and great work all around, Maya. There's a long demo, but really good, really impactful. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you on the next webcast. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.